Spiderhead Ending Explained. This sci-fi dystopian drama starring Chris Hemsworth and Miles Teller was an interesting one for sure. With multiple twists and turns throughout the runtime, I thought I'd break down and explain all that there is to take away from the movie. So let's get into it. Here is Spiderhead Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Throughout the entirety of the movie, we followed Steve, who was also known as Mr. Amnesty, Jeff, who was a prisoner and in the facility for manslaughter, Lizzie, who was also in the facility as a prisoner, and also Mark, who was alongside Steve working in the facility. We were led to believe that the whole organization was being run by a corporation, and that they were testing these drugs that were permanently connected to the inmates through a pack, before rolling them out to the public. They were designed to make you feel certain things, such as laffodil, which would make you laugh a lot more than usual, verbulence, which made you speak a lot more and speak your mind, along with many others that were hooked up to the inmates. The facility contained extremely dangerous criminals, and it differed from a normal prison in the sense that there were no locks, no boundaries, and many luxuries, which we later go on to find out how that's possible. As the movie went on, we saw that things weren't quite what they seemed. We were on the side of Jeff in the sense that we were being led to believe that the drug called N40, which was supposed to test to see if it could make you fall in love with somebody, rather than be lustful, was the one that was being tested, and what the main experiments were for, when in reality there was a red tube that was connected to the inmate's pack, in which they were told was a placebo, when in fact that was the main one that Steve was testing and wanted to roll out. This was called B6 and was going to be rolled out as OBDX, a drug that made you obedient, follow orders, and do anything that you were told, something that Steve had a vision of using to create a better world, and to rid the world of people like Jeff causing crimes and damage to the world. It would make people follow rules and not break laws. This answered the question as to why there were people such as Rogan who murdered several people being able to just walk around and not harm anybody, rather than being locked up in a maximum security prison, because he was being filled with B6, and his dose would likely be far larger than many other people's, as it would in turn allow him to follow the rules. We witnessed Darken Flux being one of the main things that Steve wanted to put upon his subjects, but more importantly to get Jeff to put upon Lizzie. It was something that we heard gives you the worst feeling ever times 10, something that wasn't pleasant to experience at all. Following the unfortunate mishap with Heather, we saw Steve go on to cover it up, and it be something that was a moment that was a turning point for Jeff, as he found all of the damning information that showed that the facility was being run by Steve Amnesty himself, and how the drugs were being trialed based off of a bingo card. He was almost treating it like a game, and we got that impression due to the fact that he would often be laughing whilst it was going on, saying how things were being taken too seriously. He was viewing their lives as a game and for his own personal gain. Throughout the movie, we also witnessed Steve using certain doses in his pack for recreational purposes, which we saw Jeff walk in on and he was disappointed about noticing. He claimed it was for real-world testing, which we know was false. In the climax of the movie, we saw Lizzie in the room with Jeff being told to implement Darkenfloxx, which he refused to do, even after being told the true crime that she committed, which was only done to make Jeff implement it easier. However, Jeff didn't do so. This wasn't good for Steve due to the fact that it proved his point, and highlighted that the testing wasn't finalized, leaving the drug to where it needed to be, 100% obedient. We later found out the flaw in it, which was that B6, although it made you obedient, its one flaw was that it prevented you from doing anything wrong towards the thing you love most. In this instance, it was putting Darkenfloxx in Lizzie for Jeff, and in the instance where we saw Steve and Jeff fighting, it was Steve destroying his company. There were a couple of revelations in the movie that occurred which I didn't see coming. One was of Jeff's girlfriend no longer being alive and being a victim of the car crash that he caused, and the other was of Lizzie's true crimes, in that her child died due to her neglectful actions. They didn't add weight to the overarching story, but they added depth to the overarching message of the movie. As we saw Steve escape after calling for everybody to hunt Lizzie and Jeff, we saw his levels be all over the place due to Mark giving Jeff the control to his pack, and it getting damaged in the fight. We saw N40 kick in, and it tied back to one of the first clips that we saw, where it can make you see something that is horrific and be fooled into thinking it was beautiful. As he was flying the plane, Steve cast his eyes upon a mountain, but the N40 fooled him into thinking it was a beautiful cloud to fly through, which in turn caused him to crash the plane. We saw Jeff and Lizzie escape on the boat, where we heard Jeff voice over how he wished there was something you could take for self-forgiveness, and to be able to just forget everything and start again. However, that would not be possible, and that you essentially have to just go out and do it yourself, before the movie faded to black and the inevitability of the prisoners being taken to state prison, or the ones that should have been released a while ago being set free. I thought the overarching message of the movie was interesting, in the sense that no matter what you're given, whether it be laffodil, N40 or verbulence, it can make you do it, but it doesn't impact your neurological structure or override it. Even the mighty B6 that made you obedient still wasn't able to tap into the brain and cause you to go against somebody that you love dearly more than anything in this world, showing that what we create ourselves in society, genuine connections, emotions such as laughing or love, cannot be created and are far stronger than anything that tries to get it manufactured. We saw this when the focus was on small behaviors that people who love each other do, how they tend to sync up, like we saw Jeff and Lizzie do. The carbon copy of something that is natural and, more importantly, chemically created in the brain of a human is far more powerful and meaningful and stronger than anything that one seeks out to create. N40 was able to create an action of lust, but wasn't able to replicate love, just the feeling of lust. It was the B6 that was causing them to carry out their actions. I thought this movie served its purpose well. It was a small cast that definitely carried it and delivered fantastic performances. It was good to see Hemsworth in a slightly different role, and I think he carried it off well. Teller as always was a standout and you bought his character completely. The concept of the movie was something that I found extremely interesting and refreshing to see on screen. I feel we've not had a sci-fi drama that was thought-provoking and had a deeper meaning than what was on the surface level for a long while, so I enjoyed something a little different landing on the platform. It did a good job at keeping the viewer engaged and wanting to find out what was going to happen next. Overall, I'd recommend watching this movie if you haven't already. So, there you have it, Spiderhead Ending Explained. If you want to see many other ending explains on shows or movies, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find everything there. If you want to give me a show or movie to watch next, then head over to my Twitter @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rated movies that didn't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate them all in real time. What did you think of this movie? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.